The death of a spouse or a partner or the loss of a loved one is devastating. It's hard to go on without your loved one, as if nothing ever happened when your whole world is shaken to the core. I know because that's the way I felt when my husband died. Fortunately, I got counseling and there was a support group that I could turn to talk about my loss and to get back on my feet. A lot of older people in our community are experiencing the same loss I had, but they've had no place to turn. And now the Friendship Center is starting a new program to offer help where there was no help before. Joining us is Robert Rogers, Director of Community Outreach at the Friendship Centers, and licensed mental health counselor Clark West. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thanks so much for having us.
So tell us about this new program.
So it basically started with 3 conversations. There's a lot of humanity in the genesis of this initiative.
And now it's for the gay, lesbian group?
It is. It's for
Say all those initials
LGBTQ plus
Yes,
older
yes.
adults in the community. And so I had 3 conversations initially with 3 different individuals who had lost their long-term partners. One couple had been together for, 61 years. And in addition to grieving, they shared with me that they felt lost, that they couldn't access any resources to help them through this process of grieving.
So you started the group. It meets what, once a week, this group?
So the support group, we have a discussion group and a grief and loss support group, and the support group meets once a week, every Tuesday from 6 to 7:15, and then we have a monthly discussion group that meets the second Wednesday of every month, 6 to 7:30 at the Friendship
Clark,
Centers.
as a mental health counselor, this must be a program that's desperately needed, a place where you can go and talk about your loss and find out that you are not alone in this.
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, Robert had first contacted me. I was doing another group for guys who were HIV positive here in the city, and he had mentioned to me basically these 3 men who had lost their partners, and I had in my own practice at that time a lot of people that I did not know where to exactly send them, to refer. And so we kind of got together and talked about it and got a lot of the members in the community together and ask ourselves, is this something that we really need? And we desperately need it, because my relationship with my husband, we'll be together 46 years soon. I've thought about this, like what happens to us when we get older. I'm 63 now, and dementia could happen, or we could have some health problems. I've lived my life out and proud for a lot of years. I don't want to end up having to go back in the closet. And I don't know what I'm going to expect if I have to go into an assisted living or a place where I don't know what to expect. And so I think a lot of us, my age and older, I think we're very concerned about this.
Oh yes, and when you've lost someone and you've been through so much together, because as older people, it goes back to when it was not even accepted in society.
Exactly.
So you've come over a lot of obstacles, and now the loss. This must be really hard to bear.
It is. It's unbelievable, yes.
What difference can the group make then?
So in a group dynamic, there's, in addition to the sense of community, these empathic conversations create a safe environment and really are transcendent for the participants, because this shared experience is very helpful to discuss in a group setting. Yeah, it's very helpful for all the participants.
Can you help us understand why specifically an LGBTQ group is important when you're discussing grieving?
So it's this nuanced conversation, because again, those initial conversations that I had, that was mentioned. They actually did find additional resources, but they weren't, again, that nuanced conversation that older adults in the LGBTQ community were looking for.
Yeah, it wasn't,
so
well, this is not me, yeah.
Right, I mean, and I guess that's the best way to put it. I mean, it really is, it's a very nuanced conversation, and they share that common thread, which again is very, very helpful. It's a safe, empowering environment.
Do you see it make a difference in the people who are going to the group?
Absolutely. I also participate in the support group. It's the broad definition of loss and grief. It's not just the loss of a spouse, for example, and again, it's transcendent. This group conversation, we empower each other, and we help each other move forward.
So Clark, this is very important to their mental health for people to go to this group if you haven't even thought about it.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that I think is very important to say is when gay people have been together in a relationship for a long time and one loses their partner, I think a lot of the community, the heterosexual community in particular, sometimes without really knowing it, they invalidate those relationships and say, well, that's not as important as our relationship is because you must not have the same pain. But that's ridiculous. We have the same pain. We've been together the same amount of time. We've grown up together. And, but I don't think that it's done in an evil way. I just think that it happens because sometimes our relationships don't feel as important as other relationships, and they are.
And then there's the discussion group
Yes.
that goes on. This can help too, right?
Yes,
Before
absolutely.
you get to that point.
And it's really interesting because the discussion group has actually acted as a catalyst, has provided, I guess, sort of an entry point to the support groups. At the first meeting there were probably, I was expecting 10 or 12 people, and 50 people showed up for the first discussion group. So obviously there's a glaring need in the community, but what's really beautiful, it's somewhat focused. You know, we have topics that we discuss that are relevant to older adults in the LGBTQ community, and once again, it's a safe, empowering, inclusive experience. So.
That's
Really
wonderful.
sweet.
Good things are happening in
Yes,
this world.
absolutely.
That's great.
And thank Robert and the Senior Friendship Center for allowing us space.
Thank you, Friendship Center. And the Lost and Grief Support
Awesome.
Group meets
Really.
weekly. For more information, go to their website, friendshipcenter.org.